guys, it's me, Sarah, Director of Awesome here at the IMAG, and for today's IMAG at Home video, we're going to be talking a little bit about one of our new programs. We are now offering an early childhood program on Thursdays from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. And this is a class where you're going to have an adult and a child. It can be mom, dad, grandpa, grandma, aunt, uncle, and you're going to come to class and we have 3 different options. So one week we're going to be doing the Little Lab, which is very much science-based, and then we're going to have Critter Keepers, where we're going to be learning all about the animal ambassadors we have here at the IMAG, and we're also going to have a class called Tinkering Thursdays or Tinker Tot Thursdays, where that's a maker class where you're going to be making really cool things, doing a little bit with 3D printing and robotics and all kinds of fun stuff like that. So today we're going to do an example from a class that's coming up called Critter Keepers. And so for this class, we're actually going to be reading a book about chameleons, and this one's called A Color of His Own, and we're going to be meeting one of our animal ambassadors, which is Karen the chameleon. But the hands-on activity that we're going to be doing that day is we are going to be making thermochromic Play-Doh. So this is Play-Doh that changes color based on hot and cold, and the reason we're doing that is we're relating that to reptiles and amphibians and the concepts of warm-blooded and cold-blooded animal and what it means to be cold-blooded. And so for this activity, we are going to post the directions for this Play-Doh online, so you can actually check that out on there. What you need is flour, salt, water, a mixing bowl, and then I have actually ordered some special powder that's the color changing powder. So we're not using any food coloring or anything like that. So the first one that I'm going to show you is I actually already made a batch, and I used the powder that actually goes from blue to violet. And so it starts off as this really nice dark blue. This one's straight out of the freezer. It is super cold. And then I have another one over here. And as I actually roll this up between my hands, it's actually going to start warming up. And what you're gonna see is the color changes. So the Play-Doh is actually gonna change to a different color based on the heat from my hands. And so we're gonna use that again to teach the concept about what it means to be cold-blooded. So to make your Play-Doh though, you're gonna take your flour and your salt and put it in a mixing bowl. I have already put mine in here. The ratios for this are 2 to 1. So you wanna have, if you're gonna make a big batch, 2 cups of flour, 1 cup of salt. I used more along the lines of 1/4 cup of flour and 1/8 a cup of salt. And then we're gonna add some of this pigment. And so we're gonna add a little bit of this powder, and I'm gonna sprinkle that inside my bowl. And I'm gonna go ahead and start stirring it up. So I wanna get everything mixed up and blended. And then the last step is we're gonna add water. And again, with that 2 to 1 ratio, the water is gonna be the same ratio as your salt. And so I usually add it in increments though, just to make sure it doesn't get too sticky, or if it's gonna be too dry, you can add a little bit more water. So we're gonna pour a little bit of water in here. And we're just gonna continue mixing it with a spoon at first. At some point, you're actually gonna have to pick it up and start molding it to make your dough. And so I'm getting all of that mixed up in here. And I'm just gonna kind of pop the bowl over and show you where we're at. And so this is our dough that we are mixing up here. And this is where I was gonna say, again, this one I used a different version. I used the red that turns into a yellow from heat. And so you're just gonna mix that up until it gets to a point where you can actually pick it up out of the bowl, and then you're gonna knead it with your hands. If it's too dry, add a little bit more water. If it's too wet, add a little bit more flour. And then again, like I said, the best way to start with this is stick it in the freezer so it gets to that brightest color, and then you're gonna use your hands and warm it up to get that lighter color. So again, go to our website, look out for those workshops, and you're gonna look for the Little Lab, Critter Keepers, and Tinker Tot Thursdays are gonna be our new early childhood programs at theimag.org. Thank you guys for tuning in, and I'll see you next week.